Hey guys, tonight we wander into the whispering woods of Delphi, where the ancient forest hums softly beneath your feet, and shadows dance lazily among gnarled oak trunks. You probably won't survive long if you try to rush through this peaceful place. After all, the forest seems to prefer visitors who move slowly enough to hear its gentle secrets. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. While you settle in, why not drop a comment telling me where you are and what time it is locally? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge softly along a narrow path littered with brittle leaves and the occasional pine cone, the smell of damp earth and wild herbs filling your nostrils. The air is cool, barely stirred by a whispering breeze that carries faint melodic bird calls. Delphi's forest isn't just a collection of trees, it's a living, breathing tapestry woven over millennia. Historians still argue whether the ancient Greeks regarded these woods merely as sacred backdrops or as characters in their own right with personalities and moods that shaped the myths they told. You might already know Delphi as the home of the famous oracle, where priests would interpret the cryptic utterances of Pythia. But the forest surrounding that sacred site holds its own quiet stories often overlooked. For example, did you know the ancients believed the wind here carried messages from the gods, wrapping nature's voice around you like a soft, ancient lullaby? Imagine standing beneath towering oaks and pines, feeling as if the trees themselves are listening to your thoughts, gently swaying in response. The trees are mostly oak and laurel, of course, famously linked to Apollo and his pursuit of Daphne. But in these quiet woods, laurel bushes offer shade to tiny creatures and comfort to wandering spirits. It's said the forest floor once cushioned the footsteps of mythic heroes, and if you listen carefully, you might just hear echoes of their tales in the rustling leaves. Around you, the light filters softly through the branches, dappling the ground with golden patches that shift slowly as the sun moves. The woods have a peculiar stillness, a kind that feels like the world is holding its breath. Historians debate whether this atmosphere was shaped by the dense trees, or if it's a kind of sacred hush, a deliberate effect maintained by rituals and respect. You brush your hand against the bark of an ancient oak, feeling the rough texture beneath your fingers. Locals say these trees can be hundreds of years old, silent witnesses to countless seasons of change. And while the forest seems ordinary at first glance, some believe it holds gentle spirits, soft, playful, and just a bit mischievous, who protect the woodland and keep its secrets. Nearby, a faint sound, a twig snapping, reminds you that you're not alone. The forest is alive, but in a way that soothes rather than startles. Here, nature is less about wild chaos and more about quiet order, a place to relax and perhaps even fall asleep under the comforting canopy of green. You move deeper into the forest, and now the whispers of the trees seem to mingle with softer, lighter laughter. These are the domains of the nymphs, or more specifically the dryads, those playful spirits said to be born from the very trees they inhabit. They don't reveal themselves easily. If they did, they'd spoil the serene calm that envelopes these woods. But you might catch a glimpse, a flicker of movement among the leaves, a sudden breeze that feels almost like a gentle giggle, Dryads are often imagined as beautiful women with hair the color of autumn leaves and eyes shining like dew. But you, wandering quietly here, begin to notice they are more than mere figures of beauty. Their presence is woven into the forest's rhythm, a subtle pulse that seems to synchronize with the rustling branches and chirping crickets. Historians still argue whether these spirits were originally conceived as guardians or just poetic expressions of nature's vitality. The Dryads' dance is said to happen mostly at dusk, when the sky softens to lilac and gold, and shadows stretch long across the mossy floor. Picture them twirling around ancient trunks, their laughter as light as wind chimes in a gentle breeze. They are pranksters too, sometimes tangling travelers' hair or hiding small items, but always with a light-hearted touch that leaves you more amused than annoyed. One fringe tale tells of a dryad who once helped a lost shepherd find his way home, guiding him through the woods by singing a song only he could hear. Whether this happened or not, the story highlights the idea that dryads are more companion than threat. They live in symbiosis with their trees, and it's said harming a tree risks angering its dryad enough to bring a bit of bad luck, a belief that made a people careful with their axes. You notice how the light seems to soften even further here, as if the forest itself dims to accommodate the dryad's play. The smell shifts too, now sweeter with hints of wildflowers and honey, a sensory reminder that you're walking among creatures that embody the gentlest parts of nature. This gentle atmosphere makes it easier to let your thoughts wander, and if you were to close your eyes for a moment, you might almost drift off to sleep with the dryad's laughter as a lullaby. Despite their charm, scholars remain divided on whether dryads should be understood literally as spirits or metaphorically as early Greeks' way of explaining the forest's mysterious life. Either way, they remind you that nature's magic isn't always loud or fierce. Sometimes it's quiet teasing, and almost like a soft secret shared just between you and the woods. And just when you start to relax, perhaps a twig snaps nearby, or a faint rustle suggests a dryad flitting just out of sight, reminding you this is their home, and you are merely a guest invited to listen. You follow a narrow winding trail deeper into the forest, the sunlight now a soft green glow filtering through the dense canopy above. Here, the air feels cooler, fresher, and you find yourself drawn to a clearing where an unexpected figure awaits a stag. But not just any stag. This is the silent stag, a majestic creature wrapped in whispered legend, said to reveal itself only to those deemed worthy of its presence. As you stand still, you notice its coat shimmering faintly with an almost otherworldly silver hue, antlers sprawling like ancient branches, and eyes calm yet piercing. The forest seems to hold its breath as the silent stag steps gracefully through the mossy carpet, leaving no sound save the softest crunch beneath its hooves. You'd think such a creature would inspire awe or fear, but instead you feel an odd sense of peace, as if the stag's very silence is a balm for the soul. This elusive deer has long been a subject of gentle stories passed down through Delphi's villagers. It's said that catching a glimpse of the silent stag brings good fortune and quiet wisdom. But here's the catch: you can never chase or call it. It appears only when you stop seeking and simply allow yourself to be still. You probably won't survive the frustration of chasing after it, so relaxing into patience is your best bet. Historians still argue whether the silent stag is rooted in real animal behavior, or if it grew purely from myth inspired by the reverence ancient Greeks held for deer as symbols of purity and connection to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and wilderness. Some believe the legend was a way to encourage respect for wildlife and the quiet beauty of untouched nature. There's also a quirky local tale that the stag once helped a weary hunter by leading him safely out of a dangerous storm, using its silence to calm the man's frantic thoughts. Whether true or not, it fits the theme perfectly. The silent stag embodies the forest's soothing power and the gift of quietude. As you watch it disappear behind a cluster of pines, you feel a subtle invitation to slow down to listen more carefully and to let the forest's gentle magic seep into your bones. This deer isn't about spectacle or speed. It's about presence and stillness, perfect qualities to ease you toward rest. Moving away from the clearing, the sound of gently flowing water guides you toward a small, shimmering spring nestled between mossy rocks. This is the realm of the Ketchlibos, the half-fish, half-human river guardian, said to watch over Delphi's sacred waters. You might imagine a fearsome river spirit, but instead picture a gentle creature with soft scales, glinting in the dappled sunlight eyes, calm and deep, like the pools it protects. The Ketchlibos is rarely seen, preferring to stay hidden beneath the water's surface. But stories say it communicates through the gentle ripple of the spring and the occasional delicate song that drifts through the air like a lullaby. You pause by the water's edge, feeling the cool mist kiss your skin, and you wonder if the soft melody you hear is real, or perhaps just your imagination tuning into the forest's quiet symphony. Ancient Greeks believed springs like this one were portals between worlds, places where the divine whispered secrets to those willing to listen. Historians still argue whether river guardians like the Ketchlibos were literal spirits or poetic metaphors for the vital, life-giving properties of water. Either way, their gentle presence emphasizes the reverence the ancients held for natural resources. One charming tale tells of a traveler who, lost and thirsty, was led to the spring by a mysterious light dancing above the water's surface. After drinking, the traveler felt a peaceful calm wash over him and found his way home safely. Locals say this was the work of the Ketchlibos, a guardian ensuring kindness for those respectful of nature. As you lean closer, the water's surface shimmers, catching the sun like scattered diamonds. You dip your fingers in, feeling the crisp chill that seems to wash away not just dirt, but also the weight of the world's worries. The forest's soft hum blends with the babble of the spring, crafting a melody so soothing it might just lull you into a gentle sleep. Remember the silent stag's quiet wisdom. Here the Ketchlibos offers a watery counterpart, both guardians of calm, urging you to slow down and listen closely to the forest's gentle stories. The soft trickle of the spring fades behind you as you follow a meandering path deeper into the forest, where the canopy thickens, and the light turns into a gentle, filtered glow. Suddenly, your ears catch a curious sound, a series of bird calls, but not just any birds. These are the forest's talking birds, said to mimic voices and carry messages through the woods like living echoes. You pause, straining to catch the melody. It's surprisingly clear, almost like a whispered conversation. And for a moment you imagine that the birds might be sharing secrets about the forest, or gossiping about your slow, deliberate steps. Some say the ancient Greeks believed these birds were messengers of the gods, carrying prayers and warnings alike. Historians still argue whether this belief was rooted in real bird behavior, or if it grew from humans' fascination with mimicry and sound. The birds here aren't just noisy chatterboxes. Their calls often resemble the very voices of travelers or forest dwellers. There's an old tale about a young woman who got lost in these woods and found her way out because a bird mimicked her father's voice, guiding her step by step. Whether true or simply a comforting story, it shows how intertwined the forest's creatures are with human lives. As you listen, a sudden burst of mimicry makes you jump, your own footsteps echoed by a clever bird hiding just beyond sight. You can't help but smile, realizing you're part of this playful dialogue. The air feels lighter here, filled with soft, rustling leaves, and the delicate interplay of calls and responses. You think back to the Quechlibas's watery lullabies and the silent stag's quiet grace, noticing how each creature adds its own texture to the forest's calming soundtrack. Here, the talking birds bring a lively, gentle energy, reminding you that even in peaceful places, life hums with subtle surprises. As you continue onward, the birds' chatter fades into a soothing backdrop, like an ancient podcast streaming softly through the woods, just the right volume to ease your mind and coax you closer to sleep. As you move along the winding path, the forest floor grows softer beneath your feet, thick with moss that cushions each step like nature's own carpet. Here among the ancient trees, stories whisper of the mossy trolls, small moss-covered creatures said to inhabit these woods. They're nothing like the frightening beasts of fairy tales. Instead, they're more like shy caretakers blending seamlessly with the green undergrowth and tending to the forest's quiet corners. Imagine them as gentle gardeners, slow and deliberate, carefully rearranging fallen leaves, or coaxing mushrooms to grow in shaded patches. These trolls, according to legend, avoid human eyes, preferring to stay hidden beneath ferns and thick moss. Historians still argue whether mossy trolls were ever truly part of folklore, or simply a poetic way for ancient people to explain the mysterious movements and changes in the forest's underbrush. One peculiar story tells of a traveler who, after resting on a mossy bank, awoke to find his cloak neatly folded and fresh berries placed beside him. He was certain the mossy trolls had shown a quiet kindness. You'd probably appreciate their thoughtful nature, especially if you're the sort of person who prefers calm company over loud chatter. The moss itself seems to glow softly in the filtered sunlight, a blanket that holds moisture and life, nurturing the forest like a silent heartbeat. It's easy to imagine the mossy trolls slipping silently through this emerald world, their footsteps muffled, and their presence more sensed than seen. As you pause to touch the soft moss, you feel a connection not just to the forest, but to the gentle caretakers who might be watching over it. The air smells faintly of damp earth and pine, calming and grounding, perfect for easing a restless mind. Remember the playful dryads or the silent stag. These mossy trolls add a quieter, cozier note to the forest's chorus, a reminder that even the smallest creatures have a role in nature's grand, soothing symphony. The forest begins to thin as dusk approaches, and shadows stretch longer, merging into the gentle twilight that bathes the woods in soft blues and purples. It's here that the legend of the shadow wolf comes alive, a ghostly creature said to roam these parts, guiding lost travelers through the darkness with eyes that gleam like distant stars. But don't imagine a fierce predator. This wolf moves with quiet purpose and a calm grace more guardian than threat. You sense its presence before you see it, a rustle in the underbrush, a fleeting silhouette slipping between trees. The shadow wolf's coat is said to blend perfectly with the night, making it nearly invisible, except for those keen enough to notice the faintest glimmer of eyes or the softest pad of paws on fallen leaves. Historians still argue whether tales of this spectral wolf originated from actual nocturnal wolves or emerged as a comforting myth for those afraid to walk alone after sunset. One charming story tells of a young woman who, lost and frightened, was followed by the shadow wolf until dawn, when she found her way back to the village safe and sound. The wolf disappeared silently as the sun rose, leaving behind only the memory of its gentle guidance. It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the wildness of the forest holds kindness wrapped in mystery. As you pause, the cool night air fills your lungs, tinged with the faint scent of pine and earth. The forest seems to breathe with a quiet rhythm, and the wolf's silent steps echo that heartbeat. It's easy to imagine this guardian as a symbol of trust, a reminder to lean into the unknown with calm and curiosity. You might recall the silent grace of the stag or the playful laughter of dryads, but the shadow wolf brings a soothing darkness, a gentle nightlight guiding weary souls. Its story encourages you to surrender to the forest's calming embrace as night deepens and your own eyes begin to grow heavy. The forest's shadows deepen as you tread softly between towering trunks, and a curious thought drifts through your mind. Could these woods be home to the ancient Ents, those walking trees of legend? While Ents are famously the stuff of later fantasy tales, some scholars believe the idea was inspired here in places like Delphi's forests, where trees seemed so alive they might just step and speak. You press your palm to the bark of a particularly broad oak, feeling the rough texture pulse faintly beneath your fingertips, almost as if the tree is breathing with the slow rhythm of the forest itself. Historians still argue whether the ancients truly believed in sentient trees, or if they used such imagery as a poetic way to describe the power and mystery of their natural surroundings. Whispers tell of trees that moved imperceptibly through the seasons, subtly shifting their roots and branches to shelter small creatures or clear paths for pilgrims. Imagine the soft creaks and groans of timber, slowly walking as if the forest were a living, breathing organism with an ancient wisdom beyond human grasp. One fringe tale describes a weary traveler who, lost at dusk, found himself gently guided by a group of walking oaks that rearranged themselves to form a path to safety. Whether this story is fact or fantasy, it echoes a profound respect for nature's silent guardians. The scent here is richer earthy, with a hint of resin, and the air thick with quiet reverence. It's as if the trees themselves are watching, patient and timeless, inviting you to rest beneath their leafy arms. The idea of Ints reminds you that the forest's life is slow and steady, a perfect pace to calm the mind and ease you toward sleep. Remember the mossy troll's quiet care and the shadow wolf's gentle guidance. The ancient Ents bring a grand, slow heartbeat to the woods, a reminder that time in the forest flows differently, measured not by clocks, but by the patient growth of trees. The woods around Delphi hold many secrets, but one of the more mysterious is the presence of the Delphic serpent's kin. Small serpents said to inhabit hidden groves, their movements slow and their hums gentle, almost like a soft, vibrating lullaby that blends with the rustling leaves. You might expect a hiss or a slither to startle you, but instead, these serpents offer a soothing presence, wrapping the forest in a calm embrace. You carefully watch as one of these serpents, slender and adorned with iridescent scales, glides silently through the underbrush. Its body moves in slow waves, the patterns on its skin catching the light and shimmering softly. Ancient myths often depict the Delphic serpent as a powerful guardian of the oracle's sacred site. But its lesser-known relatives, the kin, seem to prefer a quieter life in the forest's shadows. Historians still argue whether the serpents symbolized wisdom or were simply inspired by the forest's natural reptiles. One quirky tale suggests these serpents' gentle hum could lull children to sleep or ease the worries of anxious pilgrims. The hum is said to resonate with the heartbeat of the earth, creating a sense of peace and safety. You almost find yourself tuning in, letting the subtle vibrations wash over you like a natural lullaby. As you breathe in the cool forest air tinged with damp leaves and faint traces of wildflowers, you feel the serenity deepen. The serpent's quiet presence is a reminder that not all creatures need to be loud to be significant. Sometimes the softest sounds carry the greatest comfort. This gentle hum mingles with the dryad's laughter, the bird's mimicry, and the silent steps of the shadow wolf. Together, these forest voices form a soothing chorus designed to ease the mind and welcome restful sleep. You slip quietly through the thinning trees as moonlight begins to spill softly across the forest floor, casting long, gentle shadows that dance with the slightest breeze. It's time to meet the moonlit hare, a pale, almost ethereal creature said to appear only under the full moon's calming glow. This hare is no ordinary forest dweller. It's believed to bring a serene calmness to anyone lucky enough to see it. As you watch, the moonlit hare hops gracefully across a small clearing, its fur shimmering with a silvery light that seems to absorb and reflect the moon's rays. Its eyes, deep and tranquil, seem to hold the wisdom of countless quiet nights. This gentle animal is associated with quiet reflection and renewal qualities the ancient Greeks held dear in their nighttime rituals. Historians still argue whether the moonlit hare was a symbolic figure or based on a rare nocturnal sighting of an albino hare native to these regions. There's a delicate story of a traveler plagued by restless nights, who found peace simply by watching the moonlit hare's soft movements under the stars. The creature's silent presence soothed his racing thoughts, allowing sleep to come as naturally as a gentle tide. You probably won't find such a calming companion if you're too busy chasing after it. Patience and quietude are key. The scent of night-blooming jasmine drifts on the cool air, and the soft rustle of leaves underfoot seems to hush, as if the forest itself is settling down for rest. The moonlit hare's serene energy wraps around you, a natural tranquilizer in this peaceful nocturnal world. You remember the gentle hum of the Delphic serpents and the soft guidance of the shadow wolf, all creatures who share the night's tender embrace. The moonlit hare adds a quiet, hopeful light to this tranquil scene, gently nudging your mind toward rest and dreams. As the moonlight continues to weave silver threads through the trees, you find yourself drawn to a quieter, more secretive part of the forest, where hidden fawns, spirits of youth, are said to dwell. These tiny creatures embody innocence and renewal, soft-footed, and barely seen they flit between the shadows like whispers of fresh beginnings. You pause, watching, as a pair of small spotted fawns emerge cautiously from behind a thicket. Their wide eyes gleam with gentle curiosity, reflecting the dappled moonlight like scattered stars. The ancient Greeks believed these young deer were not just animals, but symbols of new life and hope, their presence a reminder that the forest is ever renewing itself. Historians still debate whether these stories were meant to teach lessons about growth or were simple celebrations of nature's endless cycles. One tender legend tells of a weary mother who was comforted by the appearance of a fawn, whose delicate presence reminded her that even in hardship, life continues softly and steadily. This story, whether fact or myth, highlights the gentle role these creatures play in the forest's calming rhythm. The air is cool and filled with the subtle scent of damp moss and sweet wildflowers, perfect for relaxing your senses. The soft, almost inaudible steps of the fawns remind you that sometimes the quietest moments are the most profound, inviting you to breathe deeply and let go of the day's worries. Think back to the moonlit hare's soothing light and the Delphic serpent's lullaby. The hidden fawns bring the forest's promise of renewal and innocence, softly encouraging your mind to rest and your dreams to take flight. You continue your gentle stroll through the shaded forest, the soft crunch of leaves underfoot blending seamlessly with distant bird calls and the occasional whisper of a breeze. Suddenly, your gaze is drawn to an extraordinary sight. The weaver spider of Parnassus, a small but remarkable creature, known not just for its delicate web, but for the strange, almost prophetic patterns it weaves. Picture this spider, no bigger than a fingernail, spinning an intricate web that seems to shimmer with a subtle iridescence. The ancient Greeks believed that these webs could predict the future, with the patterns acting as coded messages from the gods. Historians still argue whether such beliefs were born from actual observations of the spider's behavior, or were imaginative extensions of the region's fascination with fate and prophecy. There's a charming, quirky story about a weaver who once found a spider's web shaped exactly like a constellation on the night of an important harvest festival. Taking it as a sign the community celebrated with unusual joy and luck, convinced the spider had woven them a blessing. Whether this was coincidence or divine intervention, it beautifully illustrates how nature and myth intertwined. The scent around you shifts slightly, a blend of pine resin and faint wildflowers adding to the scene's quiet magic. You watch as the spider moves with delicate precision, its legs tracing loops and curves that seem almost too perfect for mere instinct. It's a calming spectacle, the kind of slow hypnotic activity that could easily lull you towards sleep if you let yourself watch long enough. Remember the gentle narratives of the mossy trolls and the moonlit hare. This tiny spider adds a detailed, delicate stitch to the forest's rich tapestry of stories, reminding you that even the smallest beings have their part in the soothing symphony of the woods. The forest grows quieter as you venture further, but the gentle rhythm of life remains steady like a soft heartbeat beneath the layers of moss and leaf litter. Here, the legends speak of the gentle giants the forest bears. These majestic creatures inspire stories mixing might with an unexpected tenderness, especially in how they care for their young. You catch a glimpse of a bear mother guiding her cubs through the underbrush, their heavy paws making surprisingly soft impressions on the forest floor. The bears move deliberately, cautious but calm, embodying a balance between power and gentle care. Ancient Greeks regarded bears as symbols of strength and motherhood, linking them to Artemis, the goddess who protected both the wild and children. Historians still argue whether bear worship was widespread or mostly localized around places like Delphi. One lovely tale tells of a hunter who, upon seeing a mother bear feeding her cubs, was so moved by the scene that he abandoned his bow, choosing instead to respect and protect the forest's creatures. This story, whether true or not, captures the idea that power can be gentle and respect earned through kindness. The forest smells rich here, earthy with hints of pine needles and sweet berries ripe for the picking. The slow, rhythmic sounds of the bears moving through their domain create a soothing soundtrack, their deliberate pace, a reminder that rest and protection go hand in hand. Think back to the silent stag's quiet wisdom and the shadow wolf's gentle guidance. The forest bears add a layer of nurturing strength, reminding you that even the mightiest beings can be soft-hearted, a comforting thought as you let your own body relax. As night deepens, a soft breeze stirs the trees, carrying with it the quiet sorrow of the quiet dryad's lament. Unlike the playful spirits you've met before, this dryad's tale is a gentle whisper of longing, her sorrow carried lightly on the wind that rustles through the leaves. It's said her soft lament echoes through the forest, a soothing melody that speaks of love loss and the passage of time. You imagine her standing beneath an ancient oak, her form almost blending with the bark, her voice a delicate murmur that blends seamlessly with the rustling foliage. The ancients saw such laments as part of nature's cycle, a way for the forest to express its changes and memories. Historians still argue whether these lamentations were purely mythical or inspired by the natural sounds of wind through the trees and the melancholy songs of night birds. One tender story tells of a lost traveler who, upon hearing the dryad's lament, found comfort in the music and was guided safely out of the forest. It was as if her sorrow became a lullaby, wrapping the traveler in a cocoon of calm. You can almost hear the soft vibrations in the breeze, a reminder that even sadness can hold a gentle beauty. The scent of damp earth and faint jasmine fills the cool night air, blending with the soft whispers and the subtle rustle of leaves. The forest feels alive with emotion, yet it is peaceful, a space where even sorrow is transformed into a soothing presence. Remember the light-hearted dryad's laughter and the moonlit hare's serene glow. The quiet dryad's lament adds a delicate shade to the forest's palette, a quiet moment of reflection before the woods settle into rest. The twilight fades gently into the soft velvet of night, and the forest around Delphi begins its slow descent into slumber. The creatures you've met, the dryads, the silent stag, the shadow wolf, the moonlit hare, all retreat to their secret resting places, leaving the woods wrapped in a soothing stillness. The rustling leaves become whispers. The murmuring streams turn to lullabies, and the gentle hum of the forest's night song rises softly, inviting you to do the same. You imagine the trees swaying slowly under the moonlight, their branches rocking tiny nests where hidden fawns curl up, and the gentle giants the forest bears settle down, their breath steady and calm. The mossy trolls retreat beneath their soft green blankets, while the weaver spider of Parnassus spins one last delicate thread before closing its tiny legs for rest. Even the Delphic serpent's kin coil quietly beneath the undergrowth, their hums fading into the night's silence. This is the moment when the forest exhales a deep, calming breath that spreads peace through every leaf and stone. It's a gentle reminder that rest is not just for humans, but for all beings that share this quiet, ancient world. Historians still debate how much the ancients believed the natural world was alive in this way. But the feeling is undeniable, a deep connection that lulls the mind and soul. As you lie back under the canopy, the soft chorus of the forest's night song swells gently around you. The cool air brushes your skin, scented faintly with pine and jasmine. You feel your body relax, your thoughts slowing, and the steady heartbeat of the woods inviting you into peaceful dreams. Now, as the forest sleeps, so can you, safe, calm, and softly wrapped in nature's embrace. The forest settles. Your breathing slows. The gentle night enfolds you. Peace flows quiet and deep. Sleep now and dream gently.